6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I fought it.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely
Ready?
I can review. Making review. Making review.
Say 6,
6,
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the 132nd episode of Rank and Review. As of October 17th, 2018, the Government of Canada has legalized marijuana. And to acknowledge it, we're going to do a marijuana-themed episode. So Liz and I got together and we watched 6 movies that use marijuana as a major plot point. And, yeah. So anyway, I hope you enjoy a little bit of a different Rank and Review episode. As usual, you can send your feedback to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's RANKNREVIEW. I will apologize for the spoilers. I will apologize for the coarse language. But what are you gonna do? If you like this podcast, there's a really good chance you'll like the Terror Table podcast. So check out the Terror Table podcast wherever podcasts are found. And this episode of Rank and Review, like all the others, is brought to you in part by the feature motion picture Book of Trespasses. Written and co-directed by your host and random Canadian Larry Parsons, it shall be entering the festival circuit in Canada in 2019. Thank you for listening to Rank and Review. Check out the website at ranknreview.ca. And let's burn this one, kids. All right, Rank and Review fans, welcome to another interesting episode of Rank and Review, where a regular guest is joining me to discuss 6 weed-themed movies. Mm-hmm. They're not all necessarily pot comedies or like pothead movies, but in some measure or another, marijuana plays a big part in the plot of all of these movies. And it's a timely podcast because here in Canada, where Rank and Review has sprung from, as of October 17th, 2018, recreational and medicinal marijuana is legal in Canada. At the time of this recording, it is not yet legal, but by the time you guys are listening to it, it shall be. So we're going to talk about movies that address the subject, and it's interesting. It's interesting how long it's taken for this day to come, and it's interesting the political divide that it has created.
What do you think the biggest problem the community or even our culture is going to have with it being legal?
Well, there'll be definitely a period of adjustment because it's been for so long, considered one of the evils. Drugs. We're at a war on drugs, and somehow legalizing drugs is like admitting defeat on some level in the war on drugs. Having worked a lot in the creative community and having done some personal research myself, I personally feel that it's fairly harmless, and I do think that there is a good argument to be made to a lot of medical benefits to it. And I do believe people should be free to do things that they want to do. There's very clearly a difference, I think, if you do a little bit of study between a drug like marijuana and a drug like cocaine or meth. It's a different spectrum on what it does to you and what it, and the repercussions of it and the infrastructure. Like, it's completely different, but it gets treated exactly the same. And for a lot of people, psychologically, crack, marijuana, meth, it's all drugs, right? Whereas to the average person who regularly smokes weed, it's like, you like to have a glass of wine after supper, I like to go out on the deck and smoke a joint, right? But that difference will slowly become less of a deal. But for the first little while, it'll be like, oh my goodness, We had a sort of a microcosm of this in the United States with Washington State legalizing it, and all the people who are against the idea were just waiting to see all these stats come in about how, you know, people are quitting their jobs and they're, you know, all of these people are an epidemic of drug abuse, and you know, none of what they predicted or anticipated what to happen happened, and there was a lot of financial wins to the state as a result of being one of the first in the country to legalize it. So there will be, I think, an immediate sort of surprising financial benefit, and it will ricochet into other industries such as tourism and things like this. But again, the more exposure it gets, the more the people who are scared of it will continue to be scared of it. It's just time will heal all wounds. It's just like any social moray change, you know, we have to be careful how we refer, the language we use when we're referring to somebody who's transgender or something like that. It's an uncomfortable adjustment that society is being asked to make, and at some level eventually we'll make it. There'll just be a little bit of an uncomfortable middle ground while we adjust culturally.
Okay.
Is my theory, as I pontificate.
Okay, but what do you think, like, the worst thing that's going to happen when this is officially legal? Well, I'm talking about a negative. You spoke a lot of positive. What is one negative that you could see happening with it being legalized?
Well, more people smoking means more people smoking and driving, probably. You know, I
think that's going to be cut down significantly.
That's a problem. But that's always going to be a problem.
How about smoking in public?
That we deal with
because it will be illegal to smoke in public.
Well, it's not, because that's kind of fair in a way, though. If I'm drinking a beer, the person standing next to me doesn't get a contact high from my beer. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I get there being places where you're not, if you're at an outdoor concert, maybe you shouldn't just be able to light up, or there should maybe be designated areas. The same there would be for smokers, or for even drink. Like a lot of places you go, you have to be in a certain area where you drink your beer. So why couldn't there be there will be obstacles that I think are very overcomable, but they're all things that we've been willing to concede for alcohol. So again, yeah, we want to keep it out of the hands of the young, so it's still a controlled substance, and yeah, people can abuse it, and that should be keeping an eye on, but that again is no different than alcohol.
All right, well, let's get to like weed in movies, because like weed has been in movies since the 40s.
Yeah.
But it was only up until, I would say, the late 70s that it was shown in a relatively, at least humorous light. But there is sort of, you know, with a lot of these pop movies, and I'm going to shout out some other ones that aren't going to be mentioned in here, which in some ways I'm sort of surprised. Like Friday, I'm surprised is when we're not going to talk, but because I think that's considered, you know, a quintessential.
Maybe we should have, or a Cheech and Chong movie, for instance.
Yeah, well, Up in Smoke is another one that.
I usually go to movies that are from my collection, so that sort of was pared down. For some reason, although I loved Cheech and Chong when I was a kid, I don't own any Cheech and Chong. And when I loved Cheech and Chong, I didn't really understand stoner comedy. I just thought it was funny because, I don't know, I didn't think very deeply about it.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting, or maybe worthwhile at some point, to do a Cheech and Chong episode of Rank and Review.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't have a lot of these mainstays. Like, that's sort of what I wanted to talk about in the introduction a little bit. A lot of these movies are sold on the pot, even though they'll have really good cast and really interesting people behind the movie. Yeah. The thing about the movie that makes it interesting is that it's either a pot comedy or that it centers around weed.
Yeah.
And it's selling to a very specific audience, and they've done it for a long time, repeatedly. And you don't know, like, what's the highest grossing pot comedy ever? Probably Friday, right?
I would maybe Up in Smoke by now.
But rare, right? It's not like Half-Baked tore up the box office, right?
Yeah.
It's not, but...
It might be Pineapple Express, actually.
Who knows? That's probably a good call, too. But it's interesting to see a movie that it's actually catering or directing its marketing at the pot audience. Yeah. It suggests that it's a lot larger than people realize, because like that's a demographic to consider. We're talking about a lot of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do it in a sneaky way. I remember when Muppets from Space came out, they had that poster of Puppet Gonzo floating in a beam of light, and the caption was "Best Muppet Trip Ever."
Yeah.
And you couldn't help but think, well, who are they advertising for?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes it's cautious, but sometimes it's right in your face. And sometimes and we'll talk about it on this list, it's a little bit dishonest. Dazed and Confused is sort of considered a pot comedy in certain circles, but I think of it much more of like a coming-of-age sort of teen comedy that has some people smoking weed in it a lot, because a lot of high school students, especially in the 70s and the era they're talking about, smoked a lot of weed. It was just like an authentic color and background to the movie that became the thing that the movie was about for some reason. So we can talk about that when we get there, but I think all of these movies have things that you could sell it that would make it a more interesting thing to sell it on, and yet it's sold on weed. So why is Hollywood trying to sell us weed?
Why is Hollywood trying to sell us weed? I think it became somewhat acceptable by the late 70s and 80s, at least in sort of the artistic world. I'm sure even longer than that, that have sort of engaged in ganja and
it sneaks into weird places. The parents and poltergeist smoking that joint. They're like, he's reading the biography of like Ronald Reagan, so he's like hardcore Republican by day, but pot smoking hippie by night. And that's sort of an interesting thing that doesn't get addressed a lot in the movies we're talking about, that a lot of people who smoke weed, aren't like high school dropouts. They're like doctors and lawyers.
When do you think marijuana got really sort of accepted in almost mainstay everyday culture? Because when Cheech and Chong first came out, it was at least not accepted, I would say, in white culture as much. It was, maybe the seeds were being planted at that point, but...
It's ironic. The Cheech and Chong phenomenon is largely ironic. They're Mexicans, but the seed of Cheech and Chong was born in Vancouver, Canada. Yeah. And so it's sort of, but a lot of the legal stuff that originally made marijuana become stigmatized and eventually made criminal was they didn't like all these Mexicans hanging out in certain towns, and they wanted a reason to fuck with them. Yeah. And a lot of the Mexicans smoked ganja weed. So if they could mess with you on the auspices of like, you're smoking weed, well, while we're doing that, we'll find another reason to
I remember this talked about in that Grass documentary.
Yeah, so we can use this as an excuse to kick you out of town or whatever. All of a sudden, it becomes... So it's ironic that Cheech and Chong ended up, being the guys to wave the big marijuana flag for Hollywood. Yeah. They made it okay to laugh at stoners, but in Cheech and Chong, we're laughing at them. Mm-hmm. And by the time we get to Pineapple Express, we're laughing with them. Yeah. This podcast is going to sort of deal with the gray middle ground, I think.
Well, one thing that I found almost consistent with most of the pot movies, like there's one that sort of almost has it, or it has it in some way, is a lot of pot movies sort of examine male friendship a lot. Pineapple Express is definitely one of them, where these two guys literally become friends. Harold and Kumar, Friday, Half Baked, How High, all are sort of examining at times juvenile male friendships, but real intimate male friendships that there's not a lot of gay jokes added. I mean, I think one, which one has maybe one too many gay jokes in it though?
There's a few in Half Baked, I think, but it's not about that.
No, but they really do examine, usually in a comedic light, male friendship a lot, and genuine male friendship, and I find that sort of rewarding.
What are the things that you depend on? And two things that are commonly depended on, for good or ill, because there's good and bad to both, are your friends and your little green bag, right? Yeah. You can become over-dependent on your friends, and you can become over-dependent on your little green bag, right? Yeah. So, and I think it's a smart move to address it, and sometimes they overcorrect for it. Pineapple Express, again, we keep on talking about movies we're not going to talk about today. Yeah. I think, went out of its way to portray our central pothead as kind of like a gross dude, I thought, in a lot of ways. It was one of the more unlikable characters for Seth Rogen to play, and he should be, more relatable. I would have liked for him to be more relatable. Yeah. But how about we talk about the 6 movies we are going to talk about?
Fair enough.
Is there anything else you wanted to say by way of introduction, or have we well covered it?
No, I think we've talked, fairly long, actually. This has been a lengthy opening.
We're going to talk about the Greg Araki film, Smiley Face. Yep. We're going to talk about Tim Blake Nelson's Leaves of Grass. Yep. Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused. Mm-hmm. Stephen Gyllenhaal's Homegrown. Yep. Since I'm mentioning everybody else, I guess I shall say from Jesse Dillon, How High, and from
Tamara Davis,
Tamara Davis, we have Half Baked. They're all at least advertised as pot comedies, but I'm going to
Homegrown's
argue.
not.
I'm going to argue that some of them are not.
Yeah.
Watch the trailer for some of these, and they seem a little bit misleading. But all of them swing. The plot swings on some way or another around weed.
Yep.
Let's do this, dude.
Do it.
Every now and then, a film comes along that changes everything.
What were we talking about?
This is the story of how a person got from point A to point Z. Step 1, the cupcakes.
I recognized then the true nature of the cupcakes I consumed.
Step 2, the deal.
Meet me with the money at 3. Oh no. Jane! Yep, it's pretty funny.
Come on, man, it's gonna be transformative.
Anna Faris, John Krasinski, Danny Masterson, and
Carrot Top.
Smiley Face.
That was intense.
See what all the buzz is about.
Okay.
So I was really big into film, especially in the early 90s. I'm still big into film, but I would see movies several times a week, regularly at the Broadway Theatre, regularly at the Place Royale. So this Greg Araki guy, I bumped into quite a bit in the early 90s. And I remember after seeing Totally Fucked Up and The Doom Generation and Nowhere, I officially threw up my hands and said, I don't like this dude.
Yeah.
Don't like him. I see his name on it. You know what? I'm less interested.
I will say this: if first impressions are a thing, my first impression of is it Greg Araki? Is that how we're saying
I
that?
think that's right. I could be wrong.
It's
It is Araki. Araki. I don't
okay. Well, here at RanknReview, we try and get at least the pronunciation of our
Phonetically, Araki.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If first impressions are a thing, he really whiffed and swung out with the Doom Generation. That's actually one of the movies I hated them. I have to say, if there was a top 10 of movies I hate the most, that would be up there. It was a really sort of
ugly exploitation cheapo movies, and no matter how bad they were, he kept on being allowed to make another one. It was really amazing.
It wasn't nowhere at least sort of critically applauded.
I guess in certain art house circles, that was pretty much where I threw up my hands. But I mention all this negative.
Also, he did one of the Jordan Gordon-Levitt, that reflective skin, which apparently got a lot of
I mention all this
nods.
shit because I couldn't have been more pleasantly surprised by Smiley Face, because it's not exploitive at all. There's no needless gratuitous sex or violence for the sake of needless gratuitous sex or violence. And it handles a fairly delicate balancing act of a comedy incredibly well. I don't think any of it would have been accomplishable without a strong central performance with Anna Faris, because what we have here is a woman who consistently makes the wrong decision, but we're consistently with her. We recognize it's a bad decision, but we get why she's doing
making it. Yes.
I would say that maybe the effects of the hit start to wear off a little bit in the third act for me, but for the most part, it is a consistently odd, funny movie. And I couldn't have been more pleasantly surprised by that.
It's a very funny movie. I laughed really, really hard. Actually, this movie gave me a couple of things I didn't know that I needed, let alone wanted. I have to say, is that Danny Masterson from the '70s show?
Hyde, yeah.
There's this quick shot of him actually fucking a skull that made me laugh uncontrollably.
It's the screensaver on Lee's computer now.
Yes.
Well, the movie is just filled with specific odd details like that. She, again, we're not sure if that's real or not, but it get put in her head by someone else that he's the type of dude that would be a skull fucker. So the movie chooses to visualize that. But again, Greg Araki, or however you say his name, would have been more implicitly graphic with that. In this one, he's trying to shock us into laughter, not just shock us for the sake of shocking us. And the trick is well, here's the setup. Anna Faris is wake and baking one day.
Yeah.
And
you
she's
get the impression that she's done this quite a bit.
Yep. But she has a list of things that she's got to do. She's got to pay the bills. She's got an audition that she's got to go to. And she's decided that she's got to make these brownies because she eats all the brownies in the fridge, but because she's got the munchies.
Weren't they cupcakes, actually?
Or cupcakes, pardon me. She's gonna make more cupcakes to replace the ones she ate out of the fridge. The catch was the ones that she had out of the fridge were completely laced with marijuana. So on top of all the weed she already ate, she ate like a half dozen toxic.
She has so much THC in her body that there's more THC than blood, I'm sure, at that point.
Like, it would have been hard work for her to watch TV for the rest of the day. So now she's got this obstacle, and it is herself.
Yes.
And like we say, she's consistently making bad decisions. I guess her plan initially seems solid, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant in her own mind. And the thing is that we sort of understand how she got from A to Z.
Yeah. Step 1, buy more weed. Well, she has to replace the weed cupcakes. So I guess that sort of makes sense. But then she's got to figure out how to pay back the dealer and pay the power bill,
which she is,
and make this audition.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a movie of sort of chapters and like this Herculean exhausting quest that she goes on.
Yeah.
And Anna Faris has this sort of bewildered, glassy-eyed expression, and she's trying so hard, but she is debilitatingly stoned, and it's hilarious.
It is a well-rounded, well-executed character. I will say that. Kudos both to the screenwriter and also Anna Faris for really sort of hitting out of the park. She is by far one of the greatest stoner characters in all of filmdom. I will say that. Her character is great.
It's not the character that we're going to see from like Rory Cochrane in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
Or that you would see like the Sean Penn character in Fast Times.
Yeah.
Like that's the default, dude, what the hell, man? Like completely locked out. She's still on a basic level a fairly intelligent person. Yeah. But she's just, everything is being seen through this filter of stupid. And she's, it's like trying to juggle with one hand.
Her critical thinking skills are definitely
but it comes across that she's trying and that she's smart. She's not dumb. She's not just like a brain dead. Like, she's trying to navigate it. She's fighting her way through it. Yeah. And her struggle becomes our struggle. Like, we want her to do well, and we lament all of these terrible decisions that she makes. One of the more cringeworthy is trying to sell weed to the woman she was auditioning.
Oh my God. See, here's something else that I think the script does really well, because there's certain points where I wonder if some of this was all, some of this was in her head, and then there's another version of that, and we do get that one. I kind of, like, did she actually try and sell weed to the audition person, and then what else she sees?
Leaves the place. Though also, like you say, interesting supporting characters. John Krasinski is in this movie.
And bravo for John Krasinski for doing this role too.
He's got a weird name, Bremner or
I can't remember. Yeah,
he's this hopelessly nerdy character.
Yeah.
I almost cringe at how much I relate to some of the stuff in that character. Yeah. Like, the Danny Masterson character you're talking about was this easily make funnable nerd. Like, he's a hardcore nerd, but who takes it way too seriously. Yeah. Like, there's the stuff he likes, and everybody else is fucking stupid type of nerd, right? Yeah. And John Krasinski is more of this sort of, like, weird...
hapless...
kind of pathetic nerd.
But even he has his, breaking point with Anna Faris.
This is a brilliant sort of montage of like the things that led to him falling in love with her.
Which is another thing I didn't know that I need, or didn't even know wanted, but once again, brilliant.
She does nothing to win his affection at all. In fact, a lot of the times she's like half asleep on the couch.
But doesn't she come out of a bathroom at once with like toilet paper, like
sort of to her face? But every time he sees her, he's just slowly falling more and more in love with her. Yeah. And it's one of these projection romances for some reason. He just represents something that he feels he can never have. Yeah. And unfortunately, like, she kind of uses this guy because she knows he likes him, and she's having trouble navigating the world, and he gets sucked into her vortex. Is kind of peripherally a victim of her misadventure.
Yep. Yep. Another thing I'll say is the filmmakers really understood the pot subculture really well, but also sort of the inner narrative dialogue that potheads can...
Chain of logic. I think they really got that bang on. There's a monologue which I'll have you, no word of a lie, I think is one of the best comedic monologues in the past decade at least. Shout out to the writer, and I really should find the name of the man or at least the people that did this, who wrote this. Dylan Haggerty is the credited screenwriter on it.
Okay. There's a monologue involving her where I think she's just chilling out finally. Amid all the chaos, she has a moment of sort of tranquility where she muses about lasagna. I like lasagna. And it then segues into like President Garfield.
Garfield, the cat, likes lasagna.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get a picture of President Garfield. There's just this way.
It's so beautifully written, and it's sort of just in a capsule. It sort of signifies what this character really, really is: sweet, innocent, not good at making decisions. Just randomly spirals through life.
She has to be in Venice at 3:00, and she stumbles upon a sausage truck that's pointed south. Venice is south. I will hide in the back of the sausage truck and have a nap and assume it will drive me to Venice. Like, no, girl. No. No. Or just the shiny happiness, the optimism she has when she starts her day.
Yeah.
She's way too stoned to drive, which was another hilarious scene of her trying to back her car out of the garage. It was just brilliantly done. Every time the car moves slightly, she feels like she's going way too fast. And then she ends up trying to catch a bus and then being way too friendly to... This is my first time taking a bus to Los Angeles. This is going to be amazing.
Doesn't she trip over like a little boy and breaks his airplane?
Breaks his toy car.
Yeah.
Everything goes bad, but we keep cheering for her, and I guess this is where I'm going to step into spoiler territory.
Okay.
One of the many things that impressed me about Smiley Face is that it didn't end in a place that I was expecting. I thought somehow miraculously in the end she was going to pull this out, or some circumstance would just fall into her lap, which was going to undo all of these problems.
Yeah.
And nope. She loses her beloved bed. She doesn't, she...
Right, I forgot about the bed, because that becomes a focal point in the third act.
Yeah, her drug dealer who she owes money to, if she doesn't give him his money, he's going to come sell her furniture to get the money that he is owed, and she's living in terror of losing that bed. And it would almost be like if in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
They really tied the room together. She loved that, and you thought she would get it, but in the end, she's busted.
Yeah.
She's busted for all her crimes, and she has to do like a sick amount of community service hours, and it ends with her picking garbage on the side of the whole highway.
Yeah.
And in spite of that not being the ending that you want or expect, it feels appropriate, and we're not left in a place of like...
It's the ending that she and I think the movie deserves.
Yeah. And it's not... But it doesn't leave you feeling, oh, that sucks. You're not like, oh, shit. You still have a smile on your face at the end of the movie. You're just kind of nodding like, yeah. That's what happens, right? Like, maybe we wanted her to win in the end, and maybe, that would have been the obvious option. But in the real world, when you consistently fuck shit up that much,
when you throw in the air this ancient communist text, and essentially destroy, which would probably be worth hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million or something. You're going to jail. And kudos for them for going there. Because usually a lot of these pot comedies, our heroes win, despite ludicrous odds.
Or you'd think that at the end they just say at the last minute, you know what, let's change this ending. This ending's too down. But they stuck with it. And it works. Like I said, I didn't feel like miffed that it didn't all work out. It seemed weirdly appropriate. And in a way, she almost seemed okay with it. But having the cuffs put on, all of her problems are going to go away. And she can start with a clean slate and maybe do something with her degree.
Perhaps. I just sort of, I love the ending. I thought it would have been even funnier, in her like sort of weird stone haze, somehow have a matching outfit to a chain gang. She changed her clothes at least a couple of times in that movie.
She's
and
not
just
rewarded.
in a stone haze wanders in and, becomes part of the group. But
She's not rewarded for her behavior, but
Yes.
nor is she ever really a villain. You know what I mean?
yeah, she did. There's a couple of moments where
She makes bad decisions, but
the first 20 minutes, it took me a while for her to like her, I'll say that much. I can totally understand why her roommate officially hates her. He's so angry, and he does that slow motion turn showing his face.
anyway, we like Smiley Face.
No, I pleasantly surprised with Smiley Face. Like I said, I can't believe this was the same filmmaker as Doom Generation and Nowhere.
Yeah, it will. I have to reassess things, I guess.
Yeah, I heard he's gotten better,
Yeah.
and this is proof that he's gotten better. This is a very, very funny movie. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Anna Faris is great.
Yeah.
There's a couple of brilliant monologues. I also want to sort of mention that scene in the meat factory. Once again, I think it's a brilliantly written and executed scene of her
She
trying
tries to stir up union rights in, in the sausage factory by giving a great speech, but it's not such a great speech.
And in her mind, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But the reality, the execution, we see both sides.
Yeah.
Here's a question, and I tried to ask it. There are certain moments where we see a certain reality coming from inside Anna Faris's head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's how she saw it, or how it really happened?
I think several times we're seeing her worst case scenario manifesting.
Yes.
Like the skull fucking, like the evidence taking the bed away from her.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Do you think she actually tried to sell weed to her person that she's auditioning for, and she totally freaked out?
I read that as straight.
Did you?
Yeah.
That was one of the questions I had for it is, I wonder if there's certain things in this movie where it's through her eyes and not actually happening. Because we do get that scene later where we see the speech through two different lenses.
Well, and we see it in that scene when she gives the audition and she sort of convinces herself that she nailed it, and she clearly did not nail it.
It just seemed her what's the actor's name?
Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch's reaction seemed, hugely over the top, and I kind of wonder.
That's Jane Lynch. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
She's funny, but she's not a subtle actress. Never has been. And I kind of liked her playing that super straight character.
Yeah.
Like, no nonsense doesn't say it. She just doesn't suffer fools at all, and she marks Anna Faris as a fool and instantly hates her.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I read her. They were not going to get along. I think even if she'd come in there stone cold sober, she wasn't going to get that audition. But again, for me, it's the little things. I love at the very beginning, after she realizes that that she's drugged herself with all the cupcakes. Yeah. She says, "I need to make a plan," and then her face just rests, and then this caption comes up and it says, "19 minutes later," and she hasn't moved. That makes me laugh.
Yeah. I guess I kind of got resurrected.
What? You had him tell me you were dead?
Well, all right, I'm sorry about that, but there weren't no other way for me to get you to come down here. Here's the thing. If I don't get up to Tulsa, I'm gonna be in some real trouble. I need you to be me, just like we used to back at home.
We don't even look alike anymore. Has that occurred to you?
What do you think?
You've given yourself the stupidest haircut in human history.
So Bolger says you're a famous banker.
Real famous.
And they pay you for that?
Yeah. She's a poet. I tried to get her and Colleen a three-way once, but wouldn't neither of them go for it. This here's where I keep it alive.
Hey. How is it possible that you are so brilliant and so ignorant at the same time?
I don't think so.
No?
You know what you was getting into with him, and he sure ain't going away.
So, now you want me to be nice.
You got a higher IQ than your brother, and he just passed you by.
So I like Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah.
I like him as an actor. I've seen 3 of his films now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of the first one, but he has this other one. It was an adaptation of his own play called The Gray Zone, which just devastatingly heavy. Holocaust drama, right? And the previous film had to do with a really grisly crime. I think it was inspired by true events.
He also did
Oh, that's right. He did that high school Othello adaptation. But typically grim subjects for him. So it was kind of interesting to see this sort of lighter, at least as advertised, much lighter thing. That's the thing. Leaves of Grass sort of presents itself as sort of a almost romantic comedy involving a couple of a pair of twins played by Edward Norton, who haven't talked to each other in a lot of years, and who, whose lives intersecting again, has a whole bunch of terrible consequences. Some of them good consequences, some of them bad consequences. It was advertised as a comedy. It's much more of a drama. And even though one of the brothers
it's almost a fable in some sort of ways.
One of the brothers makes his living growing weed and helping a big crime enterprise who he's owed a lot of money to sort of flourish. He's being pressured to up his game and start selling other drugs. And since his wife has become pregnant and he's not interested in anything outside of weed, he wants out. And he needs to use his twin brother in this scheme he has to get out. The smart thing about the movie is that we don't know what the scheme is. We just watch it unfold. And as it unfolds, it becomes increasingly surprising as like what's going on. I think the problem with the movie is its slow burn and its uncertainty of what it is. Because I don't know what I'm watching, and it takes a full hour of the movie for me to kind of understand what the movie is. I think a lot of people might be tempted to give up on the movie prematurely. And I encourage you not to do that. I think once the narrative really goes into full gear, it really, really works. But this is a movie that is walking, not running. I guess it's got a stoner pace to it. So it's got thrilling elements, but you couldn't call it a thriller. It's got romantic elements, but you couldn't call it a romance. Of all the things to sell the movie on, though, weed seems kind of random.
I think it's more of a philosophical movie. This is the kind of film that I think first year philosophy majors would sort of see late night at their house on a Saturday. I think everything you need to know about this movie or what happens in this movie is in that opening monologue that the one brother, Bill, I think his name is.
The educated, school teacher.
Bill Kincaid is the character's name.
He teaches classic philosophy and literature.
Yeah, he's talking about this play written by Socrates, where these two great theorists, philosophers, teachers, Alcibiades and Plato. No, Socrates. Sorry, it's a Plato play, but it's Socrates and Alcibiades having this discussion in between, the rational man and the passionate man. Right. And no matter how hard the rational man, argues and has his life, organized and thought out and somewhat executed, and he's achieved divinity, if you will. The passionate man comes along and sees more chaos, and the chaos sucks them both up. I.e., you can plan your life, straight to a T, but life will always find a way. Blah blah blah, and that's what this movie is. It's exploring that whole idea that you think you're in control of your life, but really, it comes along and goes.
It's interesting. Both of the twins are hyper intelligent.
Yes, in their own way.
Yeah, but they're very different. And, the movie does a good job of getting over the wow factor of Norton playing both the characters. You believe it right away, and you don't get distracted by how did they accomplish it.
And that's how good that performance is.
It's not easily done, and they have more tricks they can use nowadays. But I even remember in things like Dead Ringers and adaptation, I could almost sort of get just distracted, like how are they getting that shot? And even stuff like that disappeared for me very quickly. I just accepted them as twins and I wasn't distracted by that. Sometimes it's fun to rewatch like The Lord of the Rings and look at all the forced perspective shots because you forget that most of the shots in those movies would involve some sort of camera trickery. So you can get bogged down in technical stuff, but this movie is still interesting enough to not let it. But again, I'm talking about it as if it's a flaw, but I think that because it's a very literate, very educated movie.
It is also a loving tribute to that poem, Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. So there is that as well.
It's a movie that feels like a play. Maybe I'm sensitive to it because I just made a movie that feels like a play in some ways.
Yeah.
The characters pontificate. They talk about lives, and and then like the parallel lines conversation being his idea of defining God. It's a concept that we can describe, but that we can't see. There's depth to it.
No, I think out of all 6 of these movies, it's by far the most well written out of all of them. It's also very unpretentious in its sweetness as well. I never think, even the love
I don't think I could call it unpretentious. I think at times it borders on pretentious.
Really?
I like the movie, don't get me wrong. Just interesting choices.
Okay.
The twin gets his brother to come visit under false pretenses. He's told this lie that he's been killed. And what's the lie he tells? Do you remember?
That he was killed and...
He was killed with a crossbow.
Ah.
And then later on in the film, his twin brother is almost killed with a crossbow.
Yeah.
It's like a little narrative kind. His lie became a reality eventually.
Yeah.
That didn't need to be there. It was just another sort of it's a very literary choice, right?
Okay.
I think there's a lot of literary moves in this film. It's and that there's goods and bads to that, but I think that it does want to hit you on a lot of levels and a lot of sides, and some people that will read as pretentious. And in some ways, these philosophical discussions are simultaneously what makes the movie more interesting, but they're also what slows down the movie. It's also why it doesn't really work as a thriller. I
never once saw it as a thriller. There's definitely, I would call it a crime movie in some ways, and so there are moments of jarring violence as well.
Yeah, because this was my second time watching the movie too, so I knew going into it what the plan was.
Yeah,
he wants to use his twin brother as an alibi so that he can kill the man who's threatening his life and make it look like a hate crime and cover his own bases.
Do you think that was really his plan? I know
it was absolutely his plan. And it's interesting watching it the second time how calculated it is. They went in there. Either this guy was going to say yes to their proposition or he was going to die, right? And so all of a sudden he goes from he's doing this to protect himself, but he is willing to commit murder.
Yeah.
And he's willing to involve his brother, right?
Yeah.
When his brother first gets there, he talks him in, he wears him down, convinces him to smoke weed.
Yes.
And what I noticed watching it the second time, he doesn't smoke weed once. He makes sure his brother smokes weed and gets really, really fucked up. And then he hits him with this plan, right? He wears down his brother's defenses. You can see this calculated plan. Especially on the second time, I honestly do feel like it's there. He doesn't see a way out of this life of crime as long as those guys are alive, and he doesn't really believe that they're going to listen to reason. So short of faking his own death or spending the rest of his life on the run, he's got to kill these people. And the interesting thing is that everything that we see about this guy, he seems really pleasant and really effacing. And when that violence happens, there's a one-scene role in this movie with Richard Dreyfuss and these two
I'm glad
dudes
you're bringing up Richard Dreyfuss because I do want to talk about that.
That violence was so shocking and so jarring. Like all of a sudden, this is a different movie. All of a sudden, we just entered a totally different movie, and we have to totally reassess that character.
Yeah,
which is great. These are all good things, but until this point, the movie had been really charming and kind of light of touch. And now, what is it? Right?
It's a full-blown crime thriller. Here's a question I wanted to ask you about Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss is a great actor. He's starred or co-starred in some of my favorite movies. His performance is very Shylocky. And I get the fact that he's Jewish. I just couldn't help think that there was a racial stereotype that was going on with this performance.
I think they were playing that up, and so was he, though.
Yes.
It's implicit in his dialogue.
Yes.
Everybody hates the Jews because the Jews are good with money. Well, if that's the way you're going to think of me, then I'm going to have all of the money and fuck you, right?
Yeah.
He's playing the role because that's the role that's expected of him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really how the movie feels about Jewish people.
No, and of course we have that one scene later with the actor from Sons of Anarchy, who name currently escapes me, You see her earlier in that film, like when she's part of that news clip, if you will. But it is very Shylocky, and I could understand why the PC crowd could, the hypersensitive PC crowd could be like, whoa.
If you want to be offended by something, you will be offended by something. The fact that they included the Jewish heritage into it at all seems, why is that important? Well, it's important because they wanted to make it look like a hate crime, and they hilariously didn't know how to draw swastikas.
It's just the fact that he's almost this like one-note villain. And it plays up such an anti-Semitic stereotype. Yeah.
Honestly, it didn't bother me. I mean, like, I guess I can see what you're saying. I felt it was a comment on it, as opposed to just being it, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't...
What would you mean a comment on it, I guess?
Because, like he says, this is what everybody expects of me. So then this is what I'll be. It's, to go to the Shakespearean sort of example, well, you don't have to go to Shylock, but the Titus Andronicus, the Moor in that one, he's expected to be second class. He's expected to be terrible. So then, if you think me a villain, then I'm going to be the most awful villain I can fucking be. Congratulations. I'm going to make your life hell because fuck you.
Okay.
Right? That's how he justified his evil, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a personal philosophy. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
I mean, no part of me thinks that Tim Blake Nelson said, I'm going to use this movie to fucking wag a finger at the Jewish culture. Okay?
Yeah.
He made a movie about the Holocaust.
Well, is he Jewish himself?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, it was just an interesting choice.
Again, if it was
I wasn't offended by it, but I just kind of thought, you know, the highly sensitive PC crowd would take a look at that and kind of go, huh?
It felt like, I mean, he's tight with the Coen Brothers, maybe I put that in. It felt like if that was in a Coen Brothers, I wouldn't have blinked at it, right?
Yeah.
That character. He's a bit of a cartoon. You could argue that.
It is very cartoon.
I don't think that's accidental. And there's some cartoon hayseed characters that we meet here, too, as well.
Bad boy Steve Earle, by the way.
Yeah. And then some of them that have surprising depth. Like Tim Blake Nelson himself plays a part as sort of Edward, the Pothead brother's right-hand man. And he looks like such a yokel, but some amazing shit comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And he really feels like he owes this man a debt. And when that man dies and he doesn't pay it, he mourns that. Not just that his friend has died, but that he was never able to pay that debt back.
Yeah. And no, there is that beautiful scene right after his funeral where Norton and him are driving the car, and he talks about the time that his brother saved him in jail.
Yeah.
That's a great, well-written, well-executed scene.
And it pays off emotionally.
Yeah.
And then later when he's able to save the surviving twin's life, he sort of feels by proxy that debt's paid. So,
yep.
And again, there's an A plus B equals C sort of literary narrative loop that we follow through that could maybe be called pretentious or more of a literary tactic than a film one.
That's not a description I would call it, though.
But it's satisfying. I liked it.
Yeah.
But I just think some people...
I loved it.
There's a scene with Kerry Russell and Edward Norton. We haven't really watched. She's really good in the movie too.
Yeah,
where she
even mentioned Susan Sarandon, for God's sake.
That's right. She's catching fish in the swamp by hand and quoting philosophy.
Yeah,
and it's a great, interesting scene. And it's like you don't expect some chick who caught a fish by hand to be quoting it.
And she's got it.
She's got all of these layers to her. She can gut a fish and she can quote philosophy. But most movies won't make room for either of those. This has both of them in the same scene. Yeah. Some people might think that's pretentious. I like it, but I was just saying, I don't think the movie is pretentious, but I would understand someone saying that there's that element to it.
Okay.
People say that Coen Brothers movies are pretentious, and I would defend it, but I understand why they say it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I thought it was just a very sweet-natured, romantic fable in a lot of ways. It's also a love letter to Oklahoma, although it's shot in a different state.
And Susan Sarandon, you said. I guess we should mention the mother who's prematurely...
He's very good at playing Susan Sarandon, I'm starting to think.
Well, I mean, she's played a lot of matriarch roles, it's true, but she tries to bring something to them. She's sort of prematurely put herself in an old age home and is like waiting out the clock. And she hasn't had a conversation with her son, I think, in like 12 years or something, they say. I can't remember the exact timeline. And he basically says that she's failed him as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
That she was his buddy and she made sure that he was fed, but that he didn't feel like she upheld her end of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls her on it, and that sort of goes largely unresolved. It's a tough scene that they have between her. There's no moment where they have that reconciliation.
Well, the thing is,
you get the feeling like at that time he's never going to see her again, and by the end of the movie he's staying there and she's still part of his life. But there wasn't that moment where they hugged it out and it was all made okay. you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's very much a supporting role, but strong. And uniformly strong, but like, of all the things to sell the movie, again, weed. Why was it sold on that, of all things? Edward Norton giving a very strong, typically strong performance, 2 very strong performances in the movie. Narratively complex, sort of genres all over the place. Really hard to nail down this movie. Yeah. I really like it. But I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's for me for sure.
Well, it is not your sort of stereotypical buddy pot movie.
No.
I guess in that regard, there's not a lot of our 2 heroes doing a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
I mean, there are bad decisions, but it's not a whole series of events of slapstick, floppy,
in a list that
juvenile comedy.
Our list contains movies like How High and Half Baked. And this feels...
It's not a college movie or a college comedy in that regard.
Its sights are so much higher.
Yeah.
Which puts it on a different level, which kind of makes it unfair in some ways. But if you haven't seen it, and if this sounds like something that will appeal to you, it will. If it sounds like it would be a nauseating thing for you, then maybe sit that one out.
I also do love that scene where the one brother finally does see the other ones grow up, and how it goes into exact detail. I want that machine, by the way. Holy cow. That machine just, woo! It's so well detailed, and he's explaining it, and you're just like, bow.
Mad plot science.
They both realize how genius they truly are. Yeah. And I think in that scene alone. So yes, go see Leaves of Grass.
It's worth a watch for sure.
This country is founded by people who were in the aliens, man. George Washington, man, he was in a cult. And the cult was in the aliens, man. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, man, they were way into that type of stuff, man. You're getting air from there, man. It's no good.
It was the last day of school.
Miss Crawford, I was thinking that maybe you and I can get together over the summer. I mean, it'll be legal. I mean, we can make...
It was the first day of summer vacation.
You guys know anything about a party here tonight? No, sir.
It was a time they will never forget.
There's a new fiesta in the making as we speak.
I thought he was cute.
Oh, let's just...
You thought he was cute?
Do you realize when he graduated, we were like 3 years old?
If only they could remember it.
So Richard Linklater, very prolific, independent filmmaker, makes lots of movies. Just to put out there, let's see, the Before Sunrise and After Sunset, the
Before trilogy, essentially.
Suburbia, Waking Life, Tape, School of Rock, a surprisingly
Bad News Bears.
A surprisingly mainstream entry. But I'm mentioning these ones specifically. Bernie, of course, Boyhood, Fast Food Nation. All of those movies directed by Richard Linklater.
Scanner Darkly.
Yeah, Scanner Darkly is another good example. All of those movies directed by Richard Linklater. All of those movies I like more than Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I mean, it's not that I dislike Dazed and Confused, but it's this cultural... It's a big movie.
Yeah.
And what I get off when I'm watching Dazed and Confused is basically seeing a young version of a bunch of people that are going to conquer Hollywood making a movie before any of them are super famous.
Okay.
It is littered with people who are going to become super famous. And it's a charming coming-of-age drama. I don't think it brings a lot new to the genre, but it definitely does a great job of expressing the vibe of the 70s and expressing, that we like the kids who are being victimized, we hate the bullies, we see the strata. I don't know if I'm getting cynical in my old age, but I've been less warm to movies that are simply built on nostalgia alone.
Okay.
Another example, especially if they're not for me, by the way, American Graffiti, okay? The Big Chill, Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
These are all movies steeped in nostalgia for something that I was not a part of.
Okay.
So I understand why people love them. I understand and I even understand that these are all good movies, but they're never the ones that I really get passionate and excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I never feel the need to revisit The Big Chill.
Okay.
And I never feel that, like, I very recently bought a copy of this one for this podcast, and I didn't bring it up to say, no, this is a good movie. This is going to be a thumbs up review, by the way.
Yeah.
I just think that Linklater has just improved his game, like, consistently after it.
Yeah.
And this is the one that people seem to just love. I think Waking Life is way better than this movie. I think Boyhood is amazing.
Yeah.
It is his Reservoir Dogs in a lot of ways. It's like his establishing movie. He'd made Slacker before this, but Dazed and Confused, I think, sort of solidified Richard Linklater.
It put him on the map, as a filmmaker to watch. I will say this about Linklater: he rarely makes the same movie twice or stuck in one genre. So, bravo for him.
So this was his coming-of-age comedy.
Yeah.
And as a coming-of-age comedies go, it's fine. But that's where I leave it. It's fine. I don't think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Did you ever see his Everybody Wants Him?
I haven't seen that one.
Neither have I, so I was just sort of curious if it was
I-
similar to that regard, because it is a nostalgia 80s movie.
I also will make the unpopular argument, and this is something that people will disagree with me on,
Okay.
that the movie is all about its supporting characters.
Okay.
I think our two leads, who are arguably Wiley Wiggins and Jason London, are the two weakest performances in the movie.
Okay.
It's just how I feel. I've never really thought Wiley Wiggins is much of an actor. Again, I'm being mean. He was
Possibly.
he was picked out of nowhere to be in this movie when he was of age, and he's age
Yeah.
appropriate to the movie. But basically, he looks confused and he rubs the bridge of his nose.
Yeah.
He looks the part, but he doesn't act the part.
Well, I think
Same
he
with
acts the part
London.
fine, but
He's the pretty boy guy who's got everything going for him, and we sort of witness a lot of the events through his eyes, but I don't connect to him in the same way. It's the smaller characters that I'm always interested in. It's like McConaughey chewing the shit out of the scenery, or Rory Corcoran playing the hilarious stoner, or again, celebrity spotting. Parker Posey fucking killing it.
Yeah.
As that bully cheerleader bitch, Ben Affleck perfectly cast as that bully who just loves picking on people who are half his size.
Yeah.
Like, those are the moments that really connect to me. The emotional arc of the movie and the main characters, I don't feel as connected to.
Okay. Well, what intrigues me about Dazed and Confused is how a film it can sort of change how you see it, or at least respect it, or even like it in some sort of way. Because I think back to my mother's face, because we actually saw it together the first time at Broadway when it first came out.
Right.
Mom and I used to do this thing where she would choose one movie and then I would choose the next one. So she chose nice respectable films like Remains of the Day and Howard's End and whatnot,
And
I
you
would
paid her back by making her sit through
Natural Born Killers and Seven. So yeah.
There you go.
And so we went to the Broadway and watched this, and for the first act of this movie, the first 35 minutes, she had this like scowl on her face.
Oh, no.
It wasn't the pot smoking; it was something else, and I finally clued into what it was, because being young and I don't want to say naive in that regard, but not that aware or critical of it, was how almost mean-spirited the first 30 some minutes of this movie actually is. And it's done in a sort of romantic nostalgic, it's shown in romantic nostalgic light, is the bullying in this movie. And that's something that really struck a chord. And it's really debasing. As bad as the guys get it, and they get assaulted, I think the women get it way worse.
Well, and Parker Posey and Ben Affleck are really good at it, because they're playing the joy in the bully. Like, they love doing this. They love it.
Yeah.
They're not playing it as evil. These aren't one-dimensional. Like, there's And that could be something that connected to me personally too as well, because we're not necessarily asked to side with those bullies, but they are
very much of that universe.
Are they being celebrated or acknowledged in some way? Like
they're being I wouldn't say celebrated, because when the Ben Affleck character gets his comeuppances, you know, everyone does laugh and goes ha ha ha.
Yeah, they're set up to take a fall, and almost all of them do. So
but Posey's character sure doesn't really.
She gets told off, but it's a pretty minimal consider to her like bitch's speech at the beginning of the movie.
But it was the whole like the young women are, you know, drenched in garbage and egg, well, all kinds of things, and then they're, you know, meant to sort of sit down and, you know, ask for other men's, you know, hands in marriage, and they're shown in this, you know, rather unpleasant light. It's very exploitive. And then there's the inside car wash scene, and I kind of thought, wow, we're not observing it, and I don't think Linklater is observing it. I think in some ways he's celebrating it, and I get the fact that froshing, you know,
freshing or whatever
it was called freshing back in the day when I was in grade 9, and I got some of it. Not as bad as it is here.
No, I think it was at a different level in the 70s.
And and it's very authentic, but I do think it is celebrated,
and that might undercut some of the comedy or the joy of it. But again, I think it's honestly executed, and I'll give it points for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's honest.
Like when bullies are just these uncomplicated one-dimension shits.
Yeah.
The really thing that makes the bullies hateable is that they know what they're doing is awful.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah.
And that's very rarely comes across.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it's a fair distraction, because I think what he's going for here is this... Mm-hmm. This is a sacred time in your life, and whether you know it or not, or whether you're miserable a lot, like when you're a teenager, everything is just so overwhelming. It's such an ordeal to take care of.
It's very melancholy.
But these are the greatest days of your life, whether or not you know it or acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Drink it in, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right? And that's...
It's a very simple thing. It's very simplistic.
And again, this, just as the nature of all the other movies I talked about, it sprawls over one evening.
Yeah.
We follow a bunch of characters, some of which we like, some of which we don't.
Yeah.
And it's charming.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's my review of the movie.
It's a lot of stuff of nothing really happens, but it's done. Its execution is rather inviting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
it loves its characters.
It's a good companion piece to American Graffiti. I'd be sort of curious to see what would, you know, be the sort of equivalent of 80s, and we haven't quite hit the nostalgia with 90s quite yet.
And I think it could be running as perfectly. I think one of the good things about the movie is that it loves all of its characters.
Yeah.
I think what maybe your mom was responding to is that the movie even loves the bullies in a way. He remembers those bullies like, oh my god, what a fucking knucklehead. What an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? And at the time, pure villain. But if you're looking back through the lens of nostalgia, you just shake your head and it's like, Jesus, what a moron.
Yeah.
Right? And that he deserves worse than that, right? Because he is worse than that. Mm-hmm. But that's what nostalgia does. Mm-hmm. But I was saying weed alone shouldn't sell a movie, and I don't think nostalgia alone should sell a movie either. And I also don't think that this movie's about weed.
No, it's not. No,
at all.
It's a
characters smoke weed throughout the movie.
It's a character-driven piece. That's essentially the plot. Are the characters.
But look at one of the 20 editions that have been released for that on video, and it's always like the crooked smiley face, or like there's like trippy kaleidoscopic colors. So it's just like it's sold as a pot comedy, and it's just not that. It's fine at being.
There's a lot of weed smoking, but it's not the allure.
Yeah.
No.
The allure is, again, seeing this cast, seeing, hey, there's Mila Jovovich for the first time ever.
I think that, and also the soundtrack, the sort of sequence of music choices, are another thing where I think a lot of the money was spent for the rights.
If you want to close your eyes, think of the sort of gritty, brown pastel rock and roll age of the 70s and slowly jerk off.
Yeah.
Well, then be my guest. That's what Dazed and Confused was meant for. I was 1 to 4 through the 70s, so I don't have that personal connection to it. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll make this movie about the early 90s someday, and I'll get all teared up about it and think it's the greatest thing ever. but a lot of people just fucking love the movie. It's just like this thing that they'll have public screenings, midnight screenings, and it's just this worship movies. And it's not the first one on the list that we're going to talk about that's got a lot of cult cred that I think is maybe a little overrated. Again, not bad. When I say a movie's overrated, I don't mean it's bad. I just mean I don't quite understand that it's up on this high level everyone.
All right.
It's sort of like The Dark Knight being rated the 4th best movie of all time according to IMDb. Like, I really fucking like The Dark Knight, but it's not the 4th greatest movie of all time. Let's all fucking relax a little bit, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Except, it wouldn't make my top 10 for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, same sort of thing here. I get why people like Dazed and Confused. I think it's a good movie, but everyone else in the world, so don't take my word for it, seems to think it's a great one. Good enough?
Good enough.
The number one cash crop in America isn't wheat, isn't soybeans, isn't, well, legal, and will cause the following effects on you and your friends.
Yo, I don't know whether I'm sitting down or standing up. Sitting. All right. How do I stand?
Sudden, violent, uncontrollable laughter.
Are you gonna be all right?
Total inability to direct thoughts.
I'm not. Would you talk? Good morning. Is anybody awake yet?
And often ending.
Would you look at that?
Say anything?
In hallucinations.
Exactly. All right. Exactly.
Are you going nuts or something?
You guys are such amateurs.
It's what our nation fears.
It smells like a skunk.
That's the smell of money, my boy.
It's what California voters call medicine.
That's a huge statement. You know what I mean?
So at the risk of being this reviewer who's constantly repeating himself, of all of the things to sell Homegrown on, the weed aspect seems weird to me.
Okay.
Like, I think you have an amazing cast here and a fairly interesting premise and story. The weed could be replaced with anything, but like for whatever reason, again, it's sold as this weird sort of pot comedy, where in the end of the day, I don't think it's a pot comedy at all.
It's a crime thriller.
Well, or dramedy. Again, we're sort of in a similar The Leaves of Grass territory here, where it's sort of scene to scene meanders and is what it wants, and maybe that's the pothead aesthetic, that it does kind of have this sort of we'll get there when we get there sort of feeling to it. But it's got a great ensemble cast. Billy Bob Thornton, Hank Azaria, and Ryan Philippe are these guys who are babysitting this field of marijuana in the middle of the woods. And their boss...
California woods.
Yeah, their boss, John Lithgow, is flying in to say hello when he is unceremoniously executed by the helicopter pilot, and his corpse is left there, and they've flown away, and they figure, what the fuck are they going to do? Well, they were tasked with guarding and growing these plants for the summer, and they were expecting to get a payout out of that. So at a minimum, they want that. So what starts out as a plan to initially take enough to pay themselves and get out of there slowly starts to snowball when they realize that no one's come to claim the body and no one's come to claim the crop. Perhaps they have an opportunity here. So again, everybody starts in a shady place in this movie. Everybody is shades of gray. But I think we like these three characters because we feel like they're on the ropes the whole time. So not to put the cart before the horse here. For me, when we get the final payout, which as it plays out is kind of dramatically interesting, it sort of subsequently flattens the tires of what's going on. That all of the stakes in the movie aren't really stakes at all. But not in a charming way, in like Bunny was never really kidnapped in The Big Lebowski, but in these guys are regularly terrified and fearing for their lives, and at no point are they in any danger.
Any real danger, yeah.
And that kind of bummed me out in a way at the end. It just seemed they went through so much. For it to be all over nothing makes almost everybody involved in it less likely.
Well, I think by the time the thieves, try and... What are they called again?
The Raiders?
The Raider, yeah, they're called the Raiders. They are in sort of mortal peril danger at that point. Yeah, they do
have that one run and gun fight. And there's that quite terrifying scene where it really looks like they're going to be buried alive by this psycho executioner.
Yeah.
But... Again, we'll get to the end. Maybe we'll wait before we actually spill it. But when we find out everything that there is to know, the secret that they were trying to keep was not a secret to anybody that they were interacting with. It was some strange, bizarre, unlikely litmus test. It's Stephen Gyllenhaal directed it. He has done a handful of movies, but he is interestingly the father of Jake Gyllenhaal and Maggie Gyllenhaal, who both show up in little, very blink and you miss him cameos in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's plugged into Hollywood in some ways, and he's got some interesting actors here. This was Billy Bob Thornton right around the time that he was sort of popping hot and strong. And it's kind of one of his sort of phoned in sedate performances. Like, he has this interesting thing where he's corrupted by the potential power he's given. He sort of starts off like a good old fella, and he kind of gets kind of greedy and corrupted by the amount of wealth that is put in front of him. Hank Azaria, on top of, being that guy from The Simpsons, is actually a very solid performer and actor, and he has a lot of range in what he can play. And he makes a character who, again, could be quite unlikable, fairly layered. Ryan Philippe is the newbie who consistently does things wrong, but we don't hate him. He's,
because he's young. He's 20 years old, at least the character is.
The worst crime he does is sleep with the Kelly Lynch character, and you totally understand why he slept with the Kelly Lynch.
You'd almost be like, way to be, bro.
I gotta say, Kelly Lynch is pretty fantastic in the movie. She's a really strong character, and she is smoking hot, and she had to be well in her 50s when she's doing this movie, so like...
40s at least.
Late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in there, and super hot, super strong, super like...
She couldn't be 50 because she'd be in her 60s by now.
Everybody's complimenting.
Anyways,
we don't want to get sidelined by how hot she was, but everyone compliments Helen Mirren for keeping hot well into her old age. I think Kelly Lynch is aging well. Can we say that safely?
Yes.
Hashtag me too. No, she's really strong in the movie. I actually really like her.
It's a great
She's always
character.
been a kind of underused actress in a lot of ways. She's not always in good movies, but she's usually good in the movies that she's in. So... as they realize they have this opportunity to sell, they have to figure out how they're going to do it. And they have certain connections, but they don't know the who's and whats of how things run. But this community, this underground community, is basically run on an engine of marijuana. And a lot is invested in it. And there are a set amount of rules. And the John Lithgow character broke those rules and paid the ultimate price
by trying to sell outside that community, yes.
So,
spoilers.
Yeah.
I think for me, when the end credits finally rolled on Homegrown, and if this plot sounds familiar to you, especially you film buffs, it is The Treasure of Sierra Madres, this movie.
Right.
That's essentially what it is, especially
with weed.
Well, that's what it is, really, yeah. Especially when it gets to the point where they're all sort of kind of trapped waiting in that house, and at this point, the crime caper or whatever, the crime narrative throughout the movie, it's starting to really unravel for these characters. And it's really by their own paranoia and doing, where they sort of start turning against each other. Well, no, they do turn against each other.
But I guess I will just end up skipping right to it, because when we find out that the entire community basically wanted to see what they would do, it was like a test, really. And they saw, they tried to keep it, or they tried to sell it outside of the community. They didn't come to us for help. I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that at all. Like, they didn't know that these people had killed John Lithgow, but like they knew that their lives were at stake. They were looking for a way out, and having a big pile of money would help them get out. Just expecting that they could take this proposition to these people, and that would be okay, and that was the right thing to do, it would work out for them, was beyond naive. It would be like walking into gunfire as far as they were concerned. As that being like some sort of trust test, some litmus test, that's ridiculous to me.
Well, I don't think it was a test. I think it was revenge on the one John Lithgow character for selling them up.
Yeah, that's why he was killed. But as far as like the people who were working the fields there, Lithgow's guys, they didn't kill those guys because it was Lithgow who was breaking the rules. They just waited to see what those guys would do. If they did the right things, they'd be one of the boys, and if they did the wrong things, they wouldn't be. But like the right thing to them would basically just be to offer us the weed, even though you didn't know it was that we were the master manipulators, right? And that's an incredibly dangerous thing. You don't just walk up to a gangster and offer to sell him a field of fucking weed, right? It's So that was their test, and that they failed, and that in the end nobody gets the weed, and they sort of hang their heads and see, look what we've become. Not satisfying.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating because up until the point I was with the movie and finding it fairly satisfying. It wasn't what I expected it to be, because again, it was vaguely advertised as sort of a charming Fargo-esque pot comedy, and it's much more of like these characters becoming corrupted by greed, you know? They sort of seem kind of cute, sweet, good old boys at first, but they don't deal with this problem well. But it was put upon them, you know? They didn't start out this way. And the end that nobody wins but nobody loses, it's like, well, where did we go? What have we learned? It's the end of Burn After Reading, you know? What does it all mean? In the end, what was the point? What was the nexus of Homegrown? What were we to take away from it? And I guess it has to be the characters, and we have to enjoy spending time with them. I did, but I'm a movie buff. You know, I can get behind kind of a meandering movie. I think in the end it's just okay, but it had the potential to be so much more than that.
Well, it just because the tone is kind of all over the place with this movie. It's sort of stuck between us, almost like a Three Stooges-esque type comedy, but it's so much a crime thriller, like even more way so than you mentioned earlier, Leaves of Grass. Like, this is more of a crime thriller, but the stakes, I never really feel that they're in great immortal danger with these three.
There's that one scene with when Billy Bob Thornton had to dig up the body.
Yeah.
And they told him to lay down and threw them inside the grave. And the guy basically said,
"Yeah,
you guys talk about this ever again to anybody. Not because I'm being paid to, but because I want to. I will personally come here, gut shoot you, and leave you in the fucking trees." I felt that, I believed that they believed that their lives were in serious danger. And that's the thing. The movie works because it has stakes, and when you find out that they never had stakes, it kind of retroactive. Again, the round two is just all about the characters, right? It's all about just enjoying them. And I don't mean to be mean to Billy Bob Thornton, because generally speaking, I do think he's a really good actor. But I've seen him in enough movies that there's some times where he's Billy Bob Thornton is really like crawling inside of a role. And there's other times where he's learning his lines in the trailer beforehand and getting through it, right?
And this seems to be one of them.
This seems to be one of those. It makes you wonder what he found interesting about it to begin with. But, because I think his characters allowed the biggest arc. Like, Hank Azaria goes from kind of an asshole to kind of a bigger asshole to realizing he was an asshole and regretting it. Whereas Billy Bob goes from being, sharper than he looks and savvy to kind of wanting to be the asshole that put him in this position. And that could have been more interesting, but he seemed a little sleepy in the role to me. There's an interesting one-scene role from Ted Danson. He gets to be our one-scene bad guy in this movie, the way that...
Not the first time he's done that, too, though. I think of that one Lawrence... Mumford. He's got that really chilling monologue.
Yeah, and he can bring the asshole. He also seems to be, I guess maybe because he's got all that...
the menace is a sort of a better way to describe it.
He's got all the Cheers money. He doesn't really have to work unless he wants to. But I think he could be a Bond villain or something if he wanted to.
I think he would be an interesting Bond villain.
That's just an interesting other connection to the Leaves of Grass, like you were saying. It had that one scene villain role from Dreyfuss, and this has the Ted Danson. And again, it was just that switch between a guy who could really, really be threatening to then be really, really, really warm, and just switch that on and off and have it not mean anything to him, so you don't feel safe in the room with the guy ever. Again, John Bon Jovi, totally decent supporting role.
Do you remember when Hollywood was trying to make John Bon Jovi a movie star?
I don't think he sucks in the movie.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. That was like the one. Looking at my notes for this film, that was one thing I typed out. Is like, do you remember when Hollywood was trying to make John Bon Jovi, a lead action star, like U571 or...
I don't think he's amazing, but I don't think he sucks. Again, a lot of the times it's like when, what was his name? The guy, Bush, was in Constantine. He had like the Bush X or whatever the hell that...
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the name of the actual musician, but he had a couple scenes. Gavin Rossdale. He was in he had a couple scenes in Constantine, and he just looked uncomfortable on camera. And that happens a lot of times when you cast a musician in a part that you needed an actor. And I saw an actor here. I didn't necessarily see John Bon Jovi, but nor was I, wow, that was amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's very much a peripheral supporting role. Jamie Lee Curtis, our favorite scream queen, shows up here as sort of the queen of Hemp City.
Yeah.
The one who swats their noses and scolds them for not being loyal to a community they didn't fully understood existing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mess, but it's an interesting enough mess.
I wouldn't call it a mess. I would just call it, a falsely advertised movie. Because it was better than what I remembered. I remember the first time I saw it years ago. I was not impressed with this film, and it's one of those weird '90s crime thrillers that they film noir crime thriller almost in a lot of ways, like Blood and Wine, that one Jack Nicholson movie, or there was another Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Shue film noir mystery movie.
Palmetto.
I think it was Palmetto. Yeah. That's what it is essentially. And that was another question I had, is like, what is a stoner movie? Because there's a couple of them that I do think are falsely advertised. Dazed and Confused being one of them, and this being another, because it's not really a comedy, I think.
Sell it on the cast, sell it on the drama, sell it on the crime.
Yeah.
Why of all things the weed? Very strange choice.
But here's another thing, and I thought, why isn't there more movies about the growing industry, especially right now when it's considered illegal?
Right.
And I think I sort of get my answer why is just because, I don't know, man. Maybe pop movies can't be these sort of gritty crime thrillers, at least not successfully. I don't think this film is, like stinky terrible, but, if there'd be one sort of through storyline or criticism of this movie, is that the tone is back and forth all over the place, because it's
whatever it needs to be for this next scene.
Okay.
That's kind of the vibe of the movie, right?
Yeah.
The movies that I love are that way. The Big Lebowski's kind of that way. It just goes wherever it needs to go from moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm much more engaged by that story and those characters, and I think it kind of pays off in a way that's more amusing to me.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that could be the tagline.
Baby, you are the first member of this family to go to college. But 6 years at a 2-year community college is not what I had in mind.
Tell the truth.
Head.
They've always had high aspirations.
All I want to do is develop my herbal in a real lab.
Now they're taking a shot at higher education.
Congratulations. These scores are going to get you into any college in the country.
Join us at Reparations Technical Institute and learn hatred for the white devil in a relaxed campus atmosphere.
Next.
Taking a vow of celibacy.
Next.
Harvard.
Music, artists, and the women.
I gotta roll up that dog.
Is that good?
This institution has graduated countless Fortune 500 CEOs and 6 presidents.
Method Man is Silas.
Oh, we in the right place. We got a black man for a teacher. What's up, bro?
Red Man is Jamal.
This is crew.
Jermaine.
The name's Jamal, and I'll mess your crew up.
It's rowing, Jimmy Jam.
NWA? What you know about that?
I am down with you, man.
You East Coast? I far East Coast. I'm from Wisconsin. Oh.
Just be cool, and you might have some fun this semester.
Who's that? I need money.
Okay, but what's his name?
I need money.
So, now we're getting into a couple of proper stoner comedies.
Yes.
Like, these ones were advertised as pop movies because they are largely pop movies.
Yeah.
And the
does start off with hits from the bong.
Yeah. How High wants to make you laugh. That's what they're setting out to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a buddy pot comedy. These guys, through ridiculous circumstances, have a ghost that helps them cheat their way into Harvard.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of pot-related adventures in Harvard, getting to know you, back to school kind of stuff.
Your typical Animal House movie.
And I have to say, it definitely has a handful of moments where I did laugh out loud.
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, as far as movies aging, this has got a real cult crowd around it, and good news to the cult crowd around it. They're shooting a sequel to it as we speak, apparently.
Really?
It's in the works. There will be a How High 2. Not looking forward to it, personally.
Okay.
I think this movie's already started to show its age pretty badly.
Okay.
And I really wish I liked our main characters more than I do.
Okay. I think they're cute. I think they're very cute.
My favorite character in the movie is the ghost. The beginning set up where, you know, Method Man is this drug dealer and he has this buddy who's like said, I love you, man. I'm always going to be there for you. Like, I get hit by a bus, I'm going to be there for you. And then, of course, he has
I got your back.
And he has a hilarious death sequence. It is hilarious. His joint sets his fake dreadlocks on fire. He dives out of a window and then is hit by a bus. It's very slapstick and over the top. But Method Man and Redman, I don't know anything about their music. All I know of them is basically.
Well, I think isn't one of them part of the Wu-Tang Clan?
Sure. I don't know them. Like, I'm not literate in that area, so I don't know their music background. I just know them as these characters, and what they are is sort of projecting that sort of hip hop attitude, and part of that is the consistent objectification of women.
Okay.
Throughout the movie,
it is. I will say this: this movie is very un-PC.
And at the time, it was funny.
Yeah.
Honestly, some of it now, not funny. like I don't think they could get away with it now.
In the definitely Me Too area, yeah.
Can you get me a girlfriend without a gag reflex? I wish you had an ass like that on the front and the back so I could slap both sides.
Yeah.
Some of the lines that come out of their mouths and that is played off as funny and now... And I know our culture has shifted and maybe I'm more sensitive to it than I would be. It's like... These guys cheated their way into Harvard, are shitty to a bunch of people who are bending over backwards to be nice to them, and are, you know, objectifying. They sleep with these virgins and then release tapes of them to the camp, sell it on campus as pornography, and then basically set up themselves as pimps and drug dealers in Harvard. With very little, like they have a slapstick over the top, crusty old dean that hates them and wants to get rid of them, that is foil for all of their hijinks. But I appreciate that you bought this movie for you, and I appreciate that there's an audience for it, and I understand that these underdogs fighting the system is something that's been done before very successfully as a template. I laughed guiltily a few times through How High, but in the end of the day, I don't think I like it.
Okay.
And I know that's not a popular opinion. A lot of people, there's a cult audience around it. I feel like I should like it. I really like Half Baked, which isn't that different to movie. But there's something about the attitude of these guys. I just don't like them as much. Like their motivation seems...
Well, the humor, I think...
Crass, yeah.
You know, it is very, very crass. It is very un-PC. I'm thinking of another movie like PCU that's sort of similar and released roughly within 10 years of each other.
I think
it's a college movie. And I think, yes, it's of its time, of that early 2000s. I'd be curious to see how the American Pie movies are now seen.
I was thinking about Superbad.
Yeah. Well, Superbad is different. Like Superbad is a lot more coming of age.
Yeah, and it works in Superbad for me because they're naive kids who are just desperate to get laid, and they don't know what they're doing.
There's also far less objectification of women in that movie.
I mean, there's not none, but like
far less.
Far less.
It isn't as open and crass and gratuitous.
It's not how can I fuck this girl and then toss her away, right? And that's kind of the attitude there. And the fact that they do think that they're better than everybody else around them, whereas the characters in Superbad know that they're fucking losers, right?
Yeah.
They start in such a place where everything is handed to them, where they have no obstacles, and they think that they're super awesome and cool, and they don't really, like I say, their obstacle's not really an obstacle. Is Dean Cain ever a threat to them in any way? Like, no. Seriously?
Yeah.
And again, this is a Revenge of the Nerds atmosphere, and I feel like, I remember watching it, like, I'm overthinking this. Just fucking relax and laugh at the stoner comedy, Larry. Yeah. But they kept on fucking bucking me off.
Okay.
So, that's my case. I know that you like this movie. I apologize, and I do appreciate that you gave it to me, but, please.
Well,
how high? How?
Okay. Well, I'll say this. I sort of admire the fact that, especially right now, the world of comedy, that these movies will not exist because they are so politically incorrect. From, one of the characters wearing a Pocahontas outfit to the very open, rampant sexism of the movie. Like, it is hard to watch, and I can totally understand why women would never touch this with a 10-foot pole.
But I can go for a raunchy comedy is the thing.
But no, it is pretty misogynistic.
Yeah.
So, I get why you wouldn't like it, and I can understand, a good portion of people not liking it. Here's something that I've sort of wrestled with, because my favorite character is actually the Baby Powder, played
the ghost.
Yeah, no, Mike Epps, the pimp.
Oh, the pimp. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Him and
his hands powdered before he slaps people.
Yeah, him and his sidekick, who's half a pimp. Walking, talking cartoons, practicing "Where's my bitches?"
Mm-hmm.
It is, in a lot of ways, it is trying to be a cartoon of a movie, and that's why it's very similar to Half Baked in that regard. I think one is very successful in doing that, another not so much, and it is partly because I
really like the guys in Half Baked. They're idiots, but I like them.
Yeah.
I found it really hard to like, especially those two main characters, and I was surprised.
I thought they were cute enough for me.
Yeah.
There's some mean-spirited. I do love I love the fact that they can wake each other up to like Rammstein and.
Again, there are moments, and I do want to say this: there are great moments.
Yeah.
I fucking laughed out loud the scene where I think it's their midterms, and they're smoking the dope that's going to bring the ghost in there, and he's not showing up, and then he shows up, and he's like, "You mind you guys didn't study? Come on, you gotta do this, you gotta learn, you gotta do this up," and then he disappears for a while. They're like, "Oh fuck," and he's like, just fucking with you. If you thought for a second there was a lesson to be learned in this movie, and that's fine. I didn't watch How High to learn anything, right? But that moment was great, and I really liked that character. I thought he was consistently funny. The ghost really did it for me. He was more charming than those two guys put together. And again, why do you love them so much? And why was he going coming back from death to help them cheat their way through Harvard? And again, the movie never makes the point where, I guess, Method Man becomes a super genius scientist as far as his botany, and managed to get his A. But pot is always the answer. Pot always wins the day. It's not like Smiley Face, where they at least recognize that there are some negative repercussions to spending all of your time stoned out of your fucking mind. Right?
Weird seeing Spalding Gray in this movie as well.
Heartbreaking, yeah.
It is sort of heartbreaking, because at this point we all know that he's dead, but
Fred Willard, a lot of Jeffrey Jones, a lot of really
Jeffrey
funny
Jones
guys.
and Fred Willard didn't surprise me by showing up in this movie, but considering the pedigree of Spalding Gray, who's really known more as a sort of Broadway star.
I get it. If you're casting someone as someone who looks like an uptight English teacher, Spalding Gray would fit the bill. And
I'm just surprised he's in the movie.
Yeah,
considering just what
it is. Would he say yes to it? I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure the paycheck was really nice, and and I'm not faulting Spalding Gray for being in the movie. It was just the one weird casting choice.
They were nothing parts. Jeffrey Jones was in the movie. It was a nothing part. Fred Willard was in the movie. It was a nothing part.
It's a great supporting role. Yeah.
But when it's making me laugh, that's when I appreciate it. And like I said, there were a handful of times, maybe even enough times, that I laughed out loud that it was worth watching.
Yeah.
But there was as much stuff that rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know if it was me. Again, sometimes you watch the wrong movie on the wrong day. Maybe if it hit me on another day, I wouldn't have been as
well. Spoilers. I think to me, it's one of the weakest movies of this set. I don't want to tell you where it is exactly in the list.
No.
It's Animal House. Or at least of that ilk, and there's been so many of them
Fair
made.
Comparison, like I said, Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, it's very generic in that regard, and I'm warning, and I'm saying this right now, the PC crowd.
And I'm sure if I watched those movies again, I would find them just as offensive and un-PC today, and that you wouldn't have thought about it at the time.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, especially with comedies. I rewatched Dumb and Dumber not too long ago, which has still got a lot of funny stuff in it. It's got a lot of stuff that's kind of. As well. There's a little bit of homophobia to it. There's a little bit of stuff that they just wouldn't do today. Yeah. And I think comedy particularly falls victim to this, where it doesn't age as well.
Well, yeah, it is sort of interesting because there's things that we find, funny in certain decades. if you were to make an Austin Powers movie in this day and age, it would flop exponentially.
Well, again, even that
and
was making fun of how cheesy and stupid and weirdly footed those 60s Bond movies or like they were commenting on it in their dumb, blunt way, right? So maybe this is like sort of like the hip-hop commentary on the back-to-school college comedy things.
Yeah.
And it plays all the beats of that. I think that for those you need to be a rags to riches story. It seems like these guys didn't really have any mountain to climb, anything that they needed to accomplish.
Yeah.
And anything that they did need to accomplish was just handed to them by a ghost.
Yeah.
Or by an incredibly accommodating Harvard staff.
Yeah. It also has this like really anticlimactic ending. It's got a really bad last line, basically trying to talk about how he can pleasure this woman, and then just ends. I was kind of thought that's just a weird choice and way to end this movie. I mean, at that point, everything had been resolved anyways, but it was just like, really, that's your last line of the movie.
That's what you want to go out on.
Yeah. So that was just a weird choice. Look, I agree with you in that regard. It's not like I roll over and praise this movie. Yes, I did get it for you, and it does make me laugh. It's not a good movie, but it's a funny movie for me at certain points.
On the right day with the right attitude.
Yeah.
Maybe on October 17th in a cloud of smoke.
Yes.
But largely rubbed me the wrong way this time.
All right.
Sorry, how high?
This guy is weak, crazy. We're not drug dealers. We're fundraisers.
Go get me this Mr. Nice Guy.
Well, I'd be from Jamaica, man.
What part of Jamaica?
Right near the beach. Boy!
From Universal Pictures comes a story that proves
I'm somebody's bitch.
Oh!
3 heads are better than 1.
Who's out, man? I just stopped smoking yesterday.
I remember when a dime bag cost a dime.
Half-baked.
I'm sorry!
So, we're talking about having characters that we can cheer for or like.
Yes.
I think one of the things that Half-Baked achieves very quickly is making us really like, if not kind of in a limited pothead way, care for this group of buddies.
Yeah.
We know right away that they've been friends since they were like 12 years old.
Great opening, by the way.
And we see the first time that they ever got stoned. And then they go shopping for their munchies afterwards in this sort of hilarious and over-the-top thing.
Yeah.
And we flash forward, and, some of them are doing better than others. One of them's working in a fast food place. One of them's a janitor. One of them's like a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
But they're harmless. They're warm. They love each other. And they got a ladder to climb. They got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So through a hilarious misadventure, one of them is sent out to get munchies. Canadian stand-up comedian Harland Williams stops by to feed a horse. And the horse turns out to be diabetic.
Was it Buttercup?
Yeah.
No.
The horse is diabetic, it dies, and because it's a police horse, they take it seriously. Officer down, and he's arrested and thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And there's some not super politically correct jail humor, as I remember in the movie, but largely the scheme and all the pot selling and all the hijinks that ensue afterwards are these 3 buddies trying to get enough money to get their friend out of jail.
Naughty man, jungle of love.
They're motivated.
I remember that line.
They're motivated.
Yes.
To get him out of there before he is corrupted by his environment, shall we say. And so there's a hilarious
Wasn't it
scene
Nasty
where,
Nate?
There's a hilarious scene where they're telling him the plan is to sell drugs to raise the money, and they're expecting him to balk at this. And he's like, go!
No,
sell
go,
drugs! Go! Why are you still here? So I could really get behind, even though they were doing some bad, dishonest things. Like, I was sort of cheering for it, It gives you that scene when that dude quits his job at the fast food restaurant and says, fuck you to everybody. The thing that you always want to do, but you never actually do. You get to live that out through this character.
Yeah.
And although it has some of the humor, again, hasn't aged as well as other things, it's consistently funny.
Yeah.
The characters are consistently likable, and I laughed all the way through. Dave Chappelle was absolutely hilarious. He was on his
Young
way
David
to...
Chappelle in this too.
At this point, he'd been doing bit parts in a lot of movies. This is the first time I remember seeing him.
He had been definitely a successful comedian at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I remember seeing him center a movie, and he is such a charming, such a funny guy, and you get feeling the weight of the world hasn't crushed his spirit yet.
Yeah.
He's still on the way up, and on some level knows it.
Yeah.
And it's young, energetic, funny guy. You can just see the talent there.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of a dumb pothead comedy, it's put up another full letter grade for his presence in the movie.
Yeah.
So I think you can probably tell I'm totally into Half-Baked, dude.
Well, I think, one thing that makes this movie a success, and I think Tamara Davis got it right, is that this is one giant cartoon.
Yeah.
From the highly bright colors of our heroes, all four of them, to even how the apartment is done up, which is a stereotypical, pothead apartment, but it looks very cartoony. Even some of the transitions, there's that, Batman riff of the pot leaf, back and forth. And, at one point there's a cartoon giving the thumbs up that is living in a cartoon. Even the man on the couch. It's a cliche, but
it's even right.
Yeah. It is a giant cartoon. It never gets way too dark, which some of the other movies I think do. It's light, and I think it's a success that way, is that it knows it's a walking, talking comic book movie.
And the Chappelle
or cartoon at least.
Chappelle narrates his way through the movie too.
Yeah.
It's a story being sort of driven and told through his character.
Yeah.
And so we get all this sort of pothead culture sort of linked in. So if you're a newbie, you can be sort of guided along.
Yeah.
And like you say, over the top, the big bad pot dealer that we deal with is kind of this cartoon. Right, and
Clarence Williams III,
just streaming his way through another great.
Well, apparently, it was quite difficult to work with during this movie.
Oh no! Just small details. They have cameos of just people representing different types of stoners.
Snoop Dogg and Jon Stewart gives a rather definitely and easily identified personality trait, if you will.
Bob Saget as a memorable line.
Boo this man!
And again, you're right. I mean, we still care enough to wait around and see how they're going to get their buddy out of jail, but we never doubt that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
There's enough that we care about what's going on, but it's fun and light and stupid.
What were the name of the other two big leads?
Guillermo Diaz is Scarface.
Yes.
Jim Brewer is Brian.
That's the other one, Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer is also sort of now a well-known comedian who has a lot written under his belt, and I wanted to give a special shout out to him because I think there's some great scenes done by him. But for my money, Scarface rules this movie for me.
He's got some pretty great lines.
He really does, and he's not even a comedian out of all three of them. He's the more serious actor. The rest are, professional comedians, but
he's got this really interesting little kid energy too. He buys a dog. He has a dog for 2 days, and the dog dies, and he mourns him like a best friend.
Killer man.
Killer bee. There's also just brilliant moments. The scientist at the place where Dave Chappelle works asks him to go pick up a package for him, and he keeps referring to him condescendingly as janitor. So he keeps calling the scientist in return. But when he realizes that he's there to pick a pound of weed, it really looks like he ejaculates.
He's completely orgasming.
His hands are shaking so bad he can barely sign for this brick. And he delivers it almost reticently to the scientist. He doesn't want it. The scientist offers to give him some, and he keeps on reaching for more, almost like it's a power. It's fucking hilarious. And it's all in execution. None of that would have been as funny on the page, but god damn.
Way to be Dave. No. This is a giant Dave Chappelle showcase, and it just reminds you about how funny this man is, not was, is.
Yeah.
So good on him. Good on Tamara Davis. Good on all of them. What's good shout out to Jon Stewart and Janine Garofalo. I have killed. I will kill.
She seemed to do this whole thing, like, where she'll be in your movie, but 3 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Usually closer to 30 seconds. It's just really as minimal a commitment as you can
totally
fucking
owns
sign
it.
But she's fine. Like, she does the job. Okay, well, here's one of the things, the quote moral of the story.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle's character ends up giving up weed because he falls in love with Mary Jane, the woman.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you were kind of rubbed the wrong way by the final moments of How High, the way it sort of tunelessly kind of brings us to the credits.
Yeah.
What's the last line that we hear before credits drop
But
on How
not
High?
as much as I like.
I love weed. I love weed, but not as much
As
I
I
love pussy.
Yeah.
You know what would have been a better moral?
Yes.
It's like, instead of being ruled by weed,
Yeah.
or ruled by a woman,
Yeah.
maybe rule yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's just like that. I get what they're going for, and like it's a pro pot movie, but it's not necessarily endorsing that you spend all of your life cataclysmically stoned. There would be repercussions. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And that his out is to just obsess over something else.
Yeah.
Again, I'm overthinking.
Yeah.
I'm asking a lot out of a dumb movie.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish that wasn't the moral with which they left us. I think it was just more the shock of like, not as much as I love pussy and credits.
There's a story of that's quite funny because I watched the director's commentary while watching it. And Tamara Davis talks about how the studio execs were getting worried. They liked the dailies they were seeing, but they were worried about the film because it was going to be a big budget pot comedy, and they hadn't done that in at least quite some time. And so they flew Dave and Tamara and some of the other cast members out to the studio to at least convince them to keep on making this movie, and they were worried. And Dave said, "Well, don't worry. You know how this movie ends." And they were saying, "Like, well, okay, we've read the script, but what is the last line of this movie that people are gonna exit?" It says, "Don't worry, you're gonna make a lot of money. It's gonna be I love pussy." And there was crickets, but yet they did. Yeah.
Just pristine little moments. A lot of times you get in stoner comedies, people are like hallucinating cartoons bending out of the walls and it's way over the top.
Yeah.
I love that they literally started floating when they tried the super science weed. Like they just lifted out of their chairs. The stoner who's sleeping on their couch who nobody knows who invited there takes one hoot, and even though he's asleep, just starts lifting up.
Good on him for the really cheap blue screen as well as they're flying through the city.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Nice touch. This film, once again, it's
film. Yes, film, not movie. Film.
This
goddammit.
flick, honesty time. It has a special place in my heart. This movie. And it's sort of unfair because, once again, it's like Hot Rod. It's not a good movie, but it's a funny, entertaining movie. Back in the old days when I lived in 266, there was a couple of movies that were played, 266 Boy Chuck, on repeat quite a bit. Basketball was one of them, and Half Baked was another.
Well,
so I can close my eyes
and go Half Baked.
I could probably close my eyes now and reenact this movie for you. So it has some sentimental value because it's associated I associate it to a far more innocent time in my life.
Well, and it's just fun. It's light of heart.
Yeah.
It's amusing. It passes the time. It's like smoking a joint, one would think.
Okay. Yeah.
Just overuse might make you stupid.
But they even mention it. It's a problem.
It's fun. It's fun. It exceeded my expectations, and again, after How High, I was a little bit trepidation. I was like, I want to like this. Still has to be funny because I remember thinking this was really funny, and I think so far Half Baked remains funny.
Yes.
Good enough.
Good enough.
these pot-themed movies, what was your least favorite, and why?
Well, before I reclaim the throne, by the way, not that I'm angry, Brock, or who has the crown now.
Right now it is being shared by Eric and Ashley. The husband and wife team they've reclaimed. Well, they've claimed the championship.
Sorry, Ashley and who?
Ashley and Eric.
Ashley and Eric. What horrible names those are. I didn't know. Anyway,
Jurgensen,
congratulations, Ashley and Eric.
Eric Jurgensen and Ashley Petrikowski, reigning champions.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
It
Good
must
on
be
you.
match here, unless you just dethrone them.
All right, here
Rock
we go.
only held it for one whole episode after, so it was a short reign.
Congratulations, by the way. All right, so the countdown begins with How High. It's definitely the weakest, I think, of these 6 movies. It does have some funny bits, but there's some of the comedy is, very. I don't want to say unhealthy. Just it kind of goes to a place. I mean, shout out to Omar Epps. I think he walks a fine line, and it's a pimp role. He does make me laugh. But it's the kind of movie that would not fly today. So I guess How High. I went back and forth on this, but at number 5 I have Homegrown. I do like that movie, and a lot more than I did way back in the day when I first saw it.
It's grown on you somewhat, isn't it?
Yeah. It just couldn't quite nail down successfully a tone, and I think that's why it's sort of low on there. But it is. I do recommend seeing it. Number 3, I have Dazed and Confused, because I sort of agree with you that its big main selling point is that sort of nostalgia, and you need more, because it is one of those movies. It's a hangout movie, I guess, in a lot of ways, where a whole lot of nothing happens, but you're completely sucked in by the characters. What really kind of threw me off, and it's more the first 30-40 minutes, is just how mean-spirited some of these characters are. And I do think Linklater's celebrating him a little bit. I mean, he does give comeuppance to at least the main instigators of the cruelty, but that was the one that sort of, and maybe it's because I'm a parent, and maybe a parent of a girl as well, that really sort of went, oh, I get why, way back in the day my mom was kind of looking at me like, because she's not a total square. It was just sort of, it reached levels of unpleasantness for me that I just didn't see coming, or I have of it. And it's interesting how the movie has changed in my eyes throughout the decades.
I think it can be a charming memory to some people, but if you've been a real victim of bullying, it can be a traumatizing memory.
Yeah. So I guess at the next one is Dazed Confused. At number 3, and I went back and forth because I do think these 3 movies could easily sort of, switch places a little bit, was Leaves of Grass. A more philosophical crime thriller, a sweet-natured. I would say unpretentious. You say the opposite. It's a it's the best script out of all of them, which is strange why it's this low.
I guess I said pretentious, but I didn't mean for it to be necessarily negative.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's a very, very charming movie mixed in with weird scenes of violence, but it does successfully hold those tonal shifts quite well.
Yeah.
But I do think it's because, it's Tim Blake Nelson is a way more talented person in that regard. I don't want to say more than Richard Linklater, because Linklater is a superior filmmaker. Just wow. But Leaves of Grass. At number 2, this really surprised me because I didn't have a lot of faith in the director, like you've mentioned, because The Doom Generation is a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Is Smiley Face, and it's 2 things. I think one, it understands the subculture of pot culture quite well. Like there's some very authentic things in this movie. Anna Faris gives an amazing character, an amazing performance. It has some of the most funniest scenes I've seen in the past decade.
You can like her without sympathizing.
Yeah.
Like you're just,
and you like,
oh my god, girl. That's the vibe of the movie.
Oh man, when that book explodes, so it's just like, wow. Yeah. So Smiley Face, it's very, very funny, and I was surprised how funny it was. Sentimental value. I'm going with my heart and not my head. And I think this is quite where we might. And you're giving me that look like, no, it didn't happen. Is half-baked. It reminds me more of a more simpler, innocent time in my life. It's a movie made by a bunch of comedians, so it's more of like funny actual things. There is a plot but really, is that important?
Right.
It's by far the most charming, funniest movie out of all of them. Not probably the better executed than I would think, at least Leaves of Grass. But if you weren't your quintessential stereotypical pop movie, it would be Half-Baked. You'd put it in the same sort of vein as Friday or Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. We haven't even mentioned the Harold and Kumar movies. That sort of buddy.
It absolutely fits the bill of the pot comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel you.
So there you go. There's my 6. And
can I have this back? Unfortunately, we did not. I called it before we were recording it. I said that we weren't going to necessarily agree, but I thought it was going to be a much more different list than it ended up being.
Okay.
You gave me How High as a gift
a
year or so ago, but so I assumed it was higher in your esteem.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hurt your feelings by ranking it in 6th place, but I absolutely ranked it in 6th place.
Okay.
That said, I got some guilty laughs out of it, and I'm sure if you were stoned enough, for its audience, I'm sure it would do fine. It just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm hoping I'm not becoming too sensitive. I like a movie that's politically incorrect. I like kind of edgy humor sometimes. It didn't seem appropriate here. It seemed like it wanted to be a different movie than it was somehow.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, I will continue agreeing with you with Homegrown in 5th place. Lot to like here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I like where the script takes us, but I was always with the script while it was happening until it got there. You got a really game cast, but this is another one of those. This is all about the journey and not the destination.
Yeah.
And it's not funny and it's not particularly thrilling. It's just an engaging watch.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a weird thing. So.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of people think Dazed and Confused has got to be number 1, dude. Dazed and Confused, dude. Well, first of all, it's not a stoner comedy, and I know it's not the only one on the list that was misrepresented, but it's a solid coming-of-age drama, but you know what this kind of movie is, and it is absolutely that movie. For me, like I said in the review, it's all about the supporting players. It's all about seeing the future A-listers of Hollywood making their first movie.
Yeah.
And I'll watch it again. It's a good movie. I think it's overhyped.
Okay.
So this is where it gets hurt, because the top 3 was brutal. It was a really hard call for me.
Okay.
It's is it the best movie that's about pot, or is it the best movie? And I was trying to find a way to meet in the middle.
Okay.
So that meant, even though it hurt me to do it, Half-Baked is all the way in 3rd position.
Well, see, and I went with my heart with the movie, and like I said, there was more emotional nostalgia connection with Half-Baked than...
It's funny and it's fun.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like it's an empty meal, right? It's a fast food meal. It's really good at being what it is, and in fact, I probably like it maybe more than it's worth. It hits my nerve personally, but can I say that Half-Baked is a better movie than Leaves of Grass? Can I say that?
No,
That was what I was wrestling with.
Okay.
And in the end, I just decided that I think technically Leaves of Grass just is a little bit better of a movie overall, so it made it to 2nd place, but 2nd and 3rd was just God, that was tough.
Yeah.
It's full of ideas, and as much as I was saying it could be considered pretentious because it's quoting classic literature all of the time, and it's adding all of these extra layers of philosophy in a movie that's maybe not asking it to, because it's such a unique movie, because it did engage me, because the center of the movie is a series of special effects making Edward Norton perform 2 characters simultaneous to us, and that drops away almost immediately. The movie accomplishes so much that I have to give it a lot of points. So it fought its way to 2nd position, but again, tomorrow or yesterday I might have and I split the difference. And again, it was shocking for me to put a Greg Araki movie on the top, but what's the best movie? What's the best stoner comedy? Well, this one's kind of the best meet in the middle. I think there's some really good filmmaking here, as much as it pains me to say it's from a director I don't like. He really seems to understand how to let the audience get in the head of the main character of the movie. And with Anna Faris delivering us that character, it really worked. Excuse me. And when I say it got to this ending and it didn't give us the ending we wanted or expected,
but it earned it.
it was such a surprise that it didn't do that, and that even though in not doing that, even though our character is picking up garbage on the side of the highway, it didn't feel like a loss for the movie.
Yeah.
It was a much better ending than I love weed, but not as much as I love pussy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I ended up putting Smiley Face at the top of the list, but
yeah.
It was really tough for me, and I kind of knew when we were going in that we're probably not going to match, because I figured, well, I didn't think you would put How High at the bottom, and I assumed that Half Baked was going to be number one for you.
Yeah.
Because I know it's been a big part of your past.
Yeah.
But a weirdly tough list to rank.
Yeah.
And it's so strange to me. Again, I go back to where we started, that, like, these movies are just, the common thread is weed, but there's a lot of variety to this. And it's a strange subgenre. Weed movies. It's weird. But we got through it.
We did.
Someday you may retain your championship, but today, my friend, was not the day. Thanks for being here, dude.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure and a joy.
We did it. We made it through 6 weed-themed movies. I hope you guys enjoyed something a little different this episode. And if you didn't or you did, please let me know by writing me at ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time. Please tell a friend about Rank and Review. Please consider checking out the Terror Table. And keep your ears to the ground for Book of Trespasses, a supernatural thriller motion picture that is written and co-directed by your host and random Canadian Larry Parsons. Coming soon, kids. Coming soon.